Okay, YouTubers, this is the Angry Prepper. Thank you for joining me on the Angry Truth channel. So, today's video, we're going to talk about critical race theory. Now, let me start out by saying critical race theory just automatically sounds wrong. Just the words grouped together sounds wrong. But it's even worse now because, as we all know, white people, all of you guys that watch me, have been under attack for the last few years. And everything white people do is wrong. It's bad. It's racist. Oh, he's condescending me. He's racist. Oh, he offered me food. He thinks I'm poor. I can't afford my own food. He's a racist. So no matter what white people do, according to today's world, you're a racist. And if you deny yourself being a racist, you're a bigger racist. You're a supreme racist. You are the king of racism if you deny that you were ever racist. Again, because we let the fucking insane asylum out, guys. We let the crazy people run the streets. We gave them cars and we gave them keys to those cars. We let them fucking say what they want to say on social media platforms without anyone checking them. And if you check them, you're a racist. You are homophobic. You are transphobic. You are misogynistic if you stand against any one of these fucking issues. So critical race theory now just makes you racist across the board. So they just took the guessing game out for you guys. They took the guesswork out and they said, you know what? You're racist. But why am I racist? Because you're white. That's why. And then they're like, but that doesn't make any sense. So now, critical race theory doesn't have a place in America at all. We've seen the same kind of thinking in Germany. Hitler used critical race theory, or a variant of it, of critical race theory, by making the people of Germany hate the Jews by doing the same thing. Here we are, 2021. Now we're doing it in, I guess, reverse, if you will, where the blacks or black academics who made or who wrote up critical race theory are now pushing it. Now, critical race theory, coupled with white people being national security threat of America, is only going to do one thing: start or spark a race war. Because if you keep telling people you're racist, I'm not racist, you're fucking racist because I said it, and that's where you're going, and you're forcing people to believe they're racist when they know they're not, well, what do you think is going to happen? What do you think the pushback's going to start? It's going to start out of that. And if you push back against it, you're going to be racist. So I tell people all the time, fuck that shit. If people are going to think you're racist, then do what the fuck you got to do. Bottom line. I am constantly called an Uncle Tom for thinking the opposite. And I'm fine with it. I've been fine with it for decades now. I've been called everything under the sun, and it doesn't bother me. But for those of you who are going to constantly be called racist, or your kids are going to be called racist when they go to school because they want to teach this critical race theory at schools, that becomes a problem. Critical race theory supposedly examines social, cultural, and legal issues pertaining to race and or racism. So obviously, this came up, critical race theory was actually written by, I think, 4 or 5 black scholars, and they call them scholars for whatever reason. I guess just fucking dumbass nerds, or whatever. They came up with this because they wanted to question why the civil rights movement, which was making headway back in the 60s, why did it stop? Why all of a sudden it came to a screeching halt? Now, myself, I'm curious as well as to why the civil rights movement stopped gaining momentum when it was in its when it was full steam ahead. Now, the civil rights movement was needed. I don't care what anybody tells me. I don't care how many people I piss off by saying that. The civil rights movement was needed. And during its time, it stopped, and it stopped abruptly. So I would like to know why it stopped, but I don't want to sit there and call other people racist, and I don't want to sit there and make it a school affair. I don't want to teach this shit at school. I just want to know for myself, why the hell did it stop? Why did the black community stop becoming better? Why did, like now the drugs and all that other bullshit, I don't want to get into it, but if you guys want to learn about something in drugs in the black community, look up something called COINTELPRO. That's all I'm going to tell you. So with that, guys, it makes sense that the black community wants to find out, all these black scholars want to find out why, this stopped and that stopped and why this was affected. That makes perfect sense. But when you start teaching it in schools, not even when you start teaching in schools, when you start telling people they're racist just because, and that no matter how they look at themselves, they'll always be racist. And even if they apologize for something they had no part of, you can't tell white people they had to apologize for slavery or the civil rights movement. You can't tell them to apologize for some shit they had nothing to do. Because I'm gonna go here, because I'm gonna piss off the other side right now. The black community can't even look itself in the mirror and take blame for the shit they do. But now they're telling all white people that you're racist and you're at fault and you have to apologize for shit you had nothing to do with. The black community currently can't even fucking apologize for the shit they're doing to their own fucking neighborhood. Simple fact, just looking the other way and letting fucking crime do what it does. They can't even take blame for that. They can't even take blame for the way they raise their shitty fucking kids. But yet they want all of white America or maybe the white world, to apologize for fucking slavery, which they had no part of. The civil rights movement, which they had no part of. Any racial or racist act against black, they want them to apologize for. That makes no sense. What critical race theory also does is it recognizes the systematic racism of America. Now, yes, there was systematic racism in America for blacks. Absolutely. But now, 2021, no. There is no systematic racism anymore. If black folks can do what the fuck they want to do now, systematic racism argument is done. You could be a millionaire. You could be a billionaire. You could be a rock star, a movie star, a rapper, a ball player, a football star. You could be any fucking thing, an astronaut, a lawyer, and a doctor, a fireman. You'd be anything you want. Systematic racism, if it was an actual thing today or even fucking 10 years ago, you wouldn't be able to do, as a black person, you wouldn't be able to do anything. Because systematically, you would be broken down and ushered away from those jobs or those dreams, if you will, sorry. So critical race theory also claims that people of color, black folks, experience racism every day. Okay, let me stop that bullshit train right now. Black people do not experience racism every day. If you experience racism every day, that means you're in a fucking part of this country that you pretty much don't belong in, or some part of the world you don't belong in, or some part of America that you don't belong in, if you're experiencing every fucking day. If you live in New York City, you're not experiencing it every day. If you live in fucking Detroit or Orange, New Jersey, or Newark, New Jersey, or Compton or Crenshaw, you're not experiencing racism every day. You're not. And if you are experiencing racism every day, maybe you're the asshole. There's also that argument. You could be the asshole who's looking for the racism, who's looking at the white guy and go, I don't like the way you see him? You saw that? He said nigger with his eyes. You could be that asshole looking for fucking a problem. It could all fall on you. It might not just be fucking white folks, guys. You might be the asshole who fucking they're looking at because you're a fucking asshole. Sometimes it's that simple. Occam's razor. Now, critical race theory also looks at, for example, because you're white, that you get automatic privileges. Now, I joke about white people and their privileges. I've done it for years. But the honest truth is there is no privileges. Unless you're fucking rich, that's where the privileges come from. If you're rich and white, you get privileges. If you're black and rich, you get privileges. If you're Japanese, Indian, Chinese and rich, you get privileges. That's how the world works. The world doesn't work on color only. Color only. Now, yes, again, we're talking about the 70s and the 60s and maybe early 80s. There were black folks who were rich and they were shunned away from white communities or white social events. That has happened. But that doesn't mean all of fucking America is like that. So when you start using the argument of everyone's experienced racism every day and that white people experience these absolute privileges, I know a ton of white people who don't get those said privileges. I know a ton of white folks who still have to work 2 to 3 jobs to make ends meet or put their kids at a better college. Rich people have privileges. They don't have to do that. They got one job and their kids go to any school they want. What's his name? LeBron James, right? That guy, that asshole. His kid can go to fucking any college he wants. His kid is going to be afforded those privileges already because he's rich. He's in the fucking NBA world. He's amongst celebrities. He's in that fucking that world. I'm not in that world. You guys are not in that world. We don't get those privileges until we enter that world. So it's not about race, guys. It's about fucking opportunities. LeBron James, good basketball player, made himself to the top. He's the king of basketball now, whatever. He's afforded these privileges because he worked hard to get there. I know a lot of people, like, fuck LeBron James, he's an asshole. He is an asshole, but nonetheless, he still worked hard to get to where he got to, and now those privileges are afforded onto his kids. But you can't sit there and tell me that every day you experience racism as a fucking $1 million or millionaire ball player. It's bullshit, right? I experience racism whenever I leave New York City, and that's not all the time. But I get it. When I go fucking upstate New York, or I go somewhere in Pennsylvania, I see it here and there. I still don't acknowledge it. I don't sit there and go, oh, look at him, he's looking at me because I'm black. Oh, I don't cry about it. I just fucking deal with it. Now, if it gets to a point where it turns into words, that's a different ballgame altogether. But I have been fucking shunned and all that shit, and I still don't make that all of white America. I make it that small group of assholes upstate New York or fucking in PA or wherever the fuck I go. Hell, Native Americans hate fucking black folks. I know a ton of Native Americans that fucking treated me like shit, whether that was here in New York, Texas, or California. I'm not California, Arizona, sorry. I've experienced it. I know Chinese people that treat black folks like shit based on race alone. So when you start talking about white people being racist, there are way more groups out there that hate black folks. Way more groups. The Jewish community, you have the Koreans that don't like blacks, you have the Dominicans that don't like blacks. I experienced racism from all these groups here in the melting pot of the world. Again, guys, do I hold every last one of these fucking people as an entire group of racists? No. I just say these guys are fucking assholes, right? They're Puerto Ricans that don't fucking like blacks. It's what it is, guys. You can't just blame racism on white folks. Racism is everywhere. Racism is world fucking wide. I can go to Africa right now and an African won't like me because I'm from America and I'm an American black. Okay, and I experienced that shit here in New York. Believe it the fuck or not. I had I wouldn't say a racial incident, maybe it was a xenoism experience where the guy, because I'm black American, he's African, he started treating me like shit until I ripped the fuck into him in the back of the ambulance. All right, so now, with that, guys, you're gonna experience racism from different groups of people. It's not just white folks. People need to stop this bullshit with the critical race theory and white people are racist and that's all there is to it. No, it isn't. The racism and the racial injustice is far more bigger than just white people. You could bring everybody into this shit. This melting pot in the city, every motherfucker here has experienced racism from other races. Japanese and Koreans, Koreans and whites and fucking Jamaicans, right? Everybody hates everybody at some point. You can't just make that all about one race. It don't work that way. Now, here's the bigger problem with critical race theory. The bigger problem is the problems that are going to develop out of it, which is, I think, in my opinion, race wars. Now, we're already headed with this race war shit where we got groups popping up. I don't like black people now because, BLM and them group, they're hating white folks, and now we got to uprise against them, creating more racial tension. Then we got fucking white people who, a couple have told me, you know what, with all this BLM shit, I'm starting not to like black folks. Paraphrasing, but that's what he was getting at. Well, that's what they were getting at, sorry. So, guys, critical race theory can absolutely start a race war, because where is this going to end? You're telling fucking people they have to hate themselves and they have to fucking think that they're racist just for the privileges they were afforded or weren't afforded? You think they were afforded these privileges, therefore they should feel bad for those privileges that they've received because of their skin color, which is bullshit. So groups now, white groups that is, are popping up and speaking out. The KKK is a little more active now. Skinheads are a little more active now. We have way more groups now, that are white groups I'm talking about, that are more active now because of BLM. Because the President of the United States, Obama, or ex-President of the United States, Obama, backed up BLM on national TV and said, they're doing the right thing. Look at that group, look at them, look, look, look. Then we had them rioting all over the country, not them, not BLM per se, but just black folks rioting all over the country, destroying their neighborhoods. And somehow, white men are a national security threat. Stupid America. This is where we are. Anyway, guys, this is The Angry Prepper. Thank you for watching the Angry Truth channel. You can follow me on Instagram and Telegram as The Angry Truth. Other than that, guys, thank you for watching.